Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. Today I'm going to share with you my top 5 books of 2019. All right, so these are my top 5 books of 2019. These do not include any middle grade books, any of my favorite audiobooks, or any of my favorite graphic novels. I have a completely separate video for each of those, but these are my top 5 reads that fall into not one of those other categories. So these are ranked in order from number 5 all the way up to number 1, and yeah, I'm really excited to share these with you. So in spot number 5, I have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is a YA book about a little boy who is just kind of going through some rough stuff in life. He's being bullied at school. His father is fairly absent. His parents are split up. His father lives in the United States and he lives in England. And his mother has been diagnosed with cancer. And he has been having reoccurring nightmares. And one night, a monster shows up outside his bedroom window, and the monster wants something from him, and it's a very heartbreaking book, but very, very poignant and special. It was just so good. It is illustrated throughout it, and I think the illustrations really help the book along, and I just absolutely love the whole premise of this book. It was so well written and just packed a punch in a very short book, and I loved it. So definitely check out A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. In spot number 4, I have After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is probably my number 2 or number 1 Taylor Jenkins Reid book ever. It's right up there with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This, hands down, though, was my favorite one that I read this year. This is one of Taylor Jenkins Reid's backlist romance books. It is about Lauren and Ryan, who have been together for 11 years and have recently decided that their relationship just isn't working anymore. They're both very unhappy, and they decide that they're going to split up for a year and have no communication for an entire year, and then at the end of the year come back together and decide if they want to stay married or if they want to get divorced. And it's just their journey of exploration and things that they find out about each other in ways that they are not perfect, that they have messed up their own relationship, that that they might not have been aware of before. And I loved this book so much. It really struck a chord with me. My husband and I have been married for 11 years, and it just really resonated with me, and I loved it so much. I cried, I laughed, it was fantastic. So definitely one of my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid books, and I highly, highly suggest this one. All right, and my number 3 spot is a nonfiction book, and that is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand. This is a story of Louis Zamperini, who was a POW in World War II. His plane was shot down over the Pacific, and he survived on a raft in the Pacific for over 40 days before he was picked up and taken to a POW camp in Japan. And after the war, he came back to the United States, and it's just his story of survival, and not just survival, but how he dealt with things after the war. And it was so beautiful. It was just so, so important, and I love this book so much. And if you have not read this, highly encourage you to pick it up. It also makes a really good audiobook. Edward Herman narrates the audiobook, and it was fantastic on audio. So if nonfiction just seems like it might bore you, this so good. Love that one. So that was number 3. In my number 2 spot is a new author that I discovered this year, and that is Hum If You Don't Know the Words by Bianca Marais. This book is a historical fiction book. It takes place in the 1970s, I think. Yep, 1970s in South Africa during apartheid, and it is about a 10-year-old little white girl and a 50-year-old black woman, and how their lives cross paths and how their lives impact each other. And this book was so important to me this year. It not only was it beautifully written and just covered so many very, very important topics, but it also just really highlighted the importance of people and their ability to love through hardship and to accept others and to challenge their own beliefs and to grow. And this book was so well done. If you have not read this book, please go check it out. It is just so good. So good. Um, but yeah, even if you're not a huge fan of historical fiction, it doesn't really read like a classic historical fiction. Um, so good. Check that one out for sure. That was number 2. And then in my top spot of the year, my favorite book of 2019 was Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This book, holy bananas, this book just made me think so hard. This is a story of Beartown, which is a town in Sweden where the hockey team is everything. And one night, the star player of the hockey team rapes the manager's daughter, the manager of the hockey team's daughter. And it is about the fallout of that. And it is told from the perspective of pretty much every person in town, including the kids involved. And it opened my eyes to so much, and it changed my way of parenting. And this book was just totally worth every second I spent on it, worth every person that talks about it, because this is a fairly hyped book. Loved this book. Just, it really meant a lot to me this year. And yeah, so this hands down was my favorite book that I read this year. So those were my top 5 reads of 2019. I would love to know what your favorite book that you read in 2019 was. And if you have read any of these, please let me know down below what your thoughts about them were. And other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.